I even begin, just know that I believe that every single car should come in a manual option. Now, I completely understand why they don't, especially people importing vehicles. I believe for every single option, they have to pay the U.S. government something like $1 million, if I'm not mistaken. So if you're bringing in a vehicle with 3 different trims, and each one of those trims has a manual option and an automatic option, technically you're bringing in with 6 different options. The manufacturer's paying something like $6 million just to be able to bring in the vehicles into the United States. So I get it. I mean, I understand why most manufacturers don't bring in manual transmission, especially when they look at their sales figures and they say, well, this is just absolutely not worth it. People are not driving manual transmission type vehicles in the United States as much as automatics, so let's just not bring them in. Now, before I go on another rant about the GTR and how I think they missed the boat by not providing a manual transmission option in the United States or anywhere really, this video is not about that. There are 2 specific vehicles that I think definitely missed the boat by not offering their customers the option of a manual transmission vehicle. And both of them actually happen to be sedans. So the 2 vehicles that I'm thinking about are the Dodge Charger Hellcat and Alfa Romeo Giulia Quadrifoglio. So I'll begin the story with the Alfa, even though I really want to start off with the Hellcat and work my way up to the Alfa, but in just the order of progression of me finding out that which vehicle wasn't coming in a manual transmission, that's basically the way it went. So I guess we'll start off with the Alfa. As soon as I found out that the Alfa Romeo Giulia was coming in a manual transmission to the United States, I was ecstatic. And it wasn't just me. A bunch of people that I know were pretty much on the same boat. Now, details slowly started emerging, and we found out that not only is it going to be coming to the United States in a manual transmission, but it's also going to be packing the 505 horsepower 2.9 liter V6 Ferrari engine, which who in the world would not be thrilled with that? I mean, that thing, even though we didn't know what it sounded like or what it looked like at the time, we just knew it was going to be a screamer. And if the Italians had their hand on it, you can bet that that car was going to look pretty nice. I said look nice. I didn't say anything about reliability, which we'll cover that a little bit later. Anyway, so my cousin and I were going back and forward. I mean, we're excited about it. And then slowly but surely, more and more details start coming out in the photos as well of what the Alfa Romeo is supposed to look like when it comes to the United States. The car actually looked better than what we could have anticipated. I mean, even the wheels on that vehicle, which normally I would never think about that kind of design, looked perfect. I mean, Alfa picked the correct wheel. Everything on that vehicle was just done right. All the little carbon fiber accents that they added, as unnecessary as they probably are, just give it that extra touch, and it just looked great. I mean, I was beyond excited for that car to come in. I mean, just looking at the interior, once photos of the interior emerged, and you have the option of having the rear of the seat and that carbon fiber, oh my God, I was sold. And so was my cousin, to the point where we said, all right, as soon as this is available in the United States, not only are we going to buy it, we're actually going to pre-order it. Something I would never consider with a vehicle. So about a month after that, we start seeing speculations that the Alfa may not come in a manual transmission to the United States, but everybody else is saying that it will. It's only just a couple of places that we're reading about it that says, you know, it's not practical, it's not this, it's not that, blah blah blah. Finally, the day comes when Alfa decides to bring the Giulia Quadrifoglio, I mean Giulia in general, into the United States, and lo and behold, they don't offer the manual transmission. I was never more disappointed about a vehicle. I think the only other one that kind of disappointed me was GTR, not even the Supra disappointed me as much, just because they just completely went down the wrong route by bringing back their Supra. They should have just kept it dead. But another story for another time. It actually got so bad that I ended up writing to Alfa, Facebook message, or post on their wall. And that is one of 2 times that I've ever actually written to a manufacturer. The first time was to BMW, just detailing all the issues that I've had with both of the BMWs that I owned. But that was the second time, and it completely changed my mind, completely changed my cousin's mind. As soon as they released the statement that they were not going to be bringing in the manual transmission, and I think honestly it changed a lot of people's minds as far as the type of vehicle that they would own. I was willing to sell pretty much everything else that I had just so I could buy that vehicle. I also was very well aware of the reliability of that vehicle and Alfa's reputation, and I was willing to sacrifice all of that. I would not have cared if that vehicle spent 2 to 3 months out of the year inside some dealership, getting repaired, as long as I can drive that car with a manual transmission. That pretty much became the ultimate car for me. It had pretty much everything. It had a freaking Ferrari engine, for crying out loud, and it was a vehicle where I could put my son in the back and we could just enjoy that vehicle as a family. And of course, when you're not in the car, you can definitely enjoy that vehicle by yourself. Of course, a couple of weeks pass and I start getting that itch. I said, well, let me look at some other sedans. This was before the WRX, before I ended up buying that. And I said, let me look at some other sedans and let me see what's out there. So I started thinking about it, and I said, you know what? The one vehicle that's just so ridiculous that I think I just need to own it at least once. I don't know if I would keep this vehicle or not, but it was definitely up there. Again, it's a brand that just has absolutely no reputation whatsoever as far as reliability goes. And it was the Dodge Charger, the Hellcat, right? 707 horsepower V8 with 650 foot-pounds of torque. Why not, right? And so I started looking around, and of course, I just searched for Hellcat. I know that their Challenger platform comes in a manual transmission, but I can't find a Charger anywhere with a manual transmission. So I'm, scrolling all these websites, trying to find the Charger. I'm not even thinking that they're not offering the Charger in a manual transmission, especially because it's in the United States. I don't think the U.S. manufacturers have to pay the U.S. government that $1 million import fee for whatever option that they're bringing in. And it just made so much sense to me that, like I said, I was convinced that I wasn't even looking it up. I spent days looking for a Charger in the United States. I said, you know what, screw it. I'm willing to drive somewhere, get that Charger, and bring it over here, because most likely it's a scarce item. Who, just goes out and buys a 707 horsepower vehicle just for fun, and especially a 4-door sedan that you're just going to be taking your child in, and your family. The Hellcat, the newer Chargers anyways, in general, just have that aggressive look to them. The car just looks mean, and, inside and outside, it was just nicely designed. Dodge did a pretty good job designing that SRT Hellcat. If you look at the interior as well, if it was beefy but still simple enough, where it wasn't overcrowded, it wasn't like a luxury vehicle, it's just a beefy muscle car looking vehicle. I just wanted that stupid Hellcat badge on the side, and like I said, I was willing to drive to different states just to get it. Finally, after a few days, I said, I gotta look this up. There's absolutely no way, but does the Charger Hellcat come in a manual transmission? And I found out pretty quickly that it does not. Again, made absolutely no sense to me why they would offer the Challenger, which I think pretty much sits on the same platform as the Charger, in a manual transmission, and not offer the Charger in a manual transmission. Just completely boggles my mind. mean, I even got to the point where I started looking at how difficult it would. Of course, I didn't go too far with this, but I started looking at how difficult would it be to take the transmission out of the Challenger and put it into the Charger and just do a swap. And I think a few people have done something similar. And I think I've seen a video not too long ago with a Charger Hellcat with the 6-speed manual transmission. Again, I was willing to sacrifice reliability. I was willing to completely just, probably having to own an additional vehicle when I go any kind of long distance driving. But I was willing to do all of that just for that stupid Hellcat badge on the side. And same thing with that Quadrifoglio. Just for that little 4-leaf clover. I just wanted that on the side. And that was it. I mean, I thought it would be easier to buy a 4-door manual sedan. After a while, I started looking it up. I started getting a little bit more pickier with my selection. I wasn't about to see, my God, this guy just rode up on my ass. Freaking crazy. But I wasn't going to settle. I wasn't going to go the BMW route. Even Audi stopped making all sorts of manual transmission vehicles, which is, I guess they know something. I mean, those kind of luxury brands, they just kind of keep the luxury in their minds. They're going to know what's best for their customer base. And I think even the Audi CEO said that by 2024, they're going to go completely away from gasoline engines and just do a full electric brand, which, good luck. I mean, I'm definitely for electric vehicles, but I don't think the infrastructure is there yet. So I'll do another rant, probably next video, on electric vehicles, to be honest. So I started looking around, and the only thing that I could find that really just kind of fit pretty much everything that I wanted: all-wheel drive, manual, sedan, simple interior, decent exterior, was the Subaru WRX and the STI platform. Now, do I think this car, the one that I'm driving right now, looks as good as either of the two vehicles that I mentioned? I personally don't think so, especially the Alpha. I think the Alpha would have been an amazing vehicle to drive, but with a little bit of work, I made my WRX pretty much exactly the way I wanted it, and the STI now needs a little bit of work as well. So there you have it. I mean, there are two vehicles that just completely missed the boat in a specific segment of the market, especially considering like BMW with their M5 brand, they discontinued the manual transmission as well. So really, I mean, there is that luxury market that was kind of looking for a manual transmission. I mean, one of the reasons why Subaru doesn't really care anymore to upgrade their STIs as much as they should or could is because they have no competition. So, my cousin, like when I went in, I was able to test drive this one, the STI. When my cousin went in, he said, I want to test drive your STI. And they told him no. Like, no, we're not allowing anybody to test drive. If you want to buy this car, you can go ahead and buy it. That's how much of a market share they have, that the dealerships don't even allow test drives, and they know those cars are still going to sell. So that's one of the reasons, well, not one of the reasons, that is the reason why he's actually driving a Type R right now, VW, versus an STI, because he went to buy the STI, they wouldn't let him test drive it, so he went to the dealership across the street and just bought the Type R. Alfa and Dodge could have done the exact same thing with their Hellcat market. I know they were probably looking at numbers from their Viper and just how not impressive those numbers were, but you gotta understand that vehicle, I think MSRP was $120, and by the time it got to the dealerships, I was in the mode to buy that ACR Viper when it came out. That thing's selling for $160,000 with the dealer markup fees. I seriously doubt the markup fee would have been that high on their Charger Hellcat and even on the Alfa Quadrifoglio Giulia. So that is a vehicle that people could have gone and actually Alfa would definitely capitalize, as well as Dodge, on a specific segment that currently, honestly, doesn't really exist.